Next, let's take a look at the time machine. Now, you may be asking yourself why we would need a time machine in dotCMS. And this really has to do with how certain content might only be viewable in certain periods of time, whether before, after, or between certain dates. Let's take a look at a certain type of content. Let's look at blogs, for instance. Now, blogs we may only want to publish after a certain date. We might want to set up a blog to be prepared to publish beforehand, but we don't want to have to manually publish it ourselves once that time comes, especially if it's early in the morning or when we have other things to be doing besides putting all of it on pause and publishing that content. This is when publishing dates come into play. This is great for automating our content workflow. Let's go ahead and create a new blog. I'll click the plus sign in the corner and click Add New Content. We'll keep this simple. We'll call this African Safari. We'll choose an image, like say these zebras, and click Open. If we'd like, we could relate this to a specific author. We can say John Smith wrote this one. And click Relate. We could give a teaser if we wish. But here's the important part. We can choose a posting date. Let's choose a date in the future, like say a month from now. I'll choose the 13th of December. We could choose a specific time, like 11 a.m., and we could set individual tags. As for the blog content, of course, I could just type in something, but I'll go ahead and actually include one of our contentlets, like an image, in this. Let's choose this rhinoceros. Then I'll just say, here is a blog. Now, when we're ready, we could go ahead and choose to publish this whenever we'd like. So I'll click Save and Publish. Now, if I click the X button, our African Safari has been created, but you'll notice it still says Draft. Now, even if I refresh the page and we take a look, it still says Draft. This is because it won't yet be published until the posting date. So, how do we make sure that this looks the way that we want it to once it is published? Of course, we could choose to make sure that this shows up on a certain page on our site. So let's do that first. When we're looking at our site browser, let's go to our home page. Then we can go to our blogs. And here we should see those blogs when they're ready. Now, here we can see the African Safari in the preview, but if I choose live, we don't. So this shows us what we currently see. Now, if I wanted to view the page as if it were a date in the future, after the posting date of the blog, I would need to use the time machine. To do so, I'll expand my navigation and go to my Site tool group. Then I'll choose Time Machine. There are two ways to use the time machine. We can, of course, look into the past and into the future. Looking into the past can be helpful for reviewing the way that our site looked and acted in the past. If there were certain issues that we might have had that we'd like to replicate, or maybe a marketing campaign or a certain styling choice that we might have made that we would like to use again. We can use this to reference our site and look back in time. To do so, we'll need to first create snapshots. You'll see it says Select Snapshot above. I don't currently have any snapshots of this site because I haven't set them up. So I'll need to click the blue plus sign in the corner and click Settings to prepare my snapshots. Here I could go ahead and choose which sites I would like to include, like say the site I'm currently using, or I can check the box to include all sites. Then I would choose which languages I'd like to include. I could only go with individuals or all languages. and then provide a cron expression. Essentially, this tells dotCMS how often we would like to take a snapshot. If you're familiar with cron expressions, this should be pretty straightforward. If you're not, you could use the examples listed below, or simply search online for cron expressions and use what you find. You'll see we have examples for once an hour, twice a day, and once a day at 1 a.m. You'll see I'm currently using the once a day at 1 a.m. cron expression. I can easily copy this and paste it if I need to. And this will work just fine. Now, I can click Save and Run Now, or just save my settings and allow the job to run in the future. I can click Save, and now it will create snapshots for me once a day at 1 a.m. Again, we need to set this up before we're able to actually look into the past. If I am trying to look back from before I created these snapshots, well, I can't. So we need to make sure we set this up as early as possible so that we can always go back and view the past of our site. As far as looking at the future, we simply need to select the Future Radio button. Then we choose the date we'd like to view, like say December 11th, and which language we'd like to see that page in. I'll choose English. Here we're viewing the preview, and I can click Travel Blog. We see here we have Ecotourism in Costa Rica as the most recent blog post. This is on December 11th, but we knew that our posting date was after this. Let's choose December 14th. Then we'll again choose Travel Blog. And here we can see our African safari has appeared based on our posting date. So this can help us ensure that certain styling works the way that we want it to, and the site will look and act the way that we wish after the content has been published based on the publishing date. We can also have expiry dates so that the content will actually no longer be visible or published on our site's front end after a certain date. It's important to use the time machine to test our content and make sure that it's published when and expired when it should be.